Good evening, Raw Dealers. This is Azarith Strife back here with another deck video. I like that I've been able to actually maintain some kind of consistent schedule, and you guys have been great. Everybody that's given me positive feedback, I want to extend a really big thank you. During a lot of this time, it's been really difficult to kind of maintain a positive kind of outlook on life. Um, but doing these has been a lot of fun, and the interaction that I've gotten with a lot of you guys and the back and forth, and then the positive responses that you guys have been giving me have really been driving me to do more of this. So I have a new deck today, and this is a deck that is very near and dear to me because growing up as a kid with wrestling, I was a big WCW fan. Um, Obviously, I was a WWF fan as well, but um, nothing really captivated me as a kid like Sting did. He was such a cool character design. He didn't really talk, but he was always there, and he was always seeming like he was there to be the good guy, which I as a kid I really enjoyed. But you guys don't care. You guys don't care about that. Um, so in Raw Deal Virtual, Sting was created, and I think he's really good. So he's a 5/5. Hand size could be a little better, but he does kind of make up for that with one of his superstar specific cards. But his ability is super cool, and by super cool I mean super linear, but very strong. So once a turn, when he successfully plays a unique maneuver, you can shuffle 5 cards from your except pop back into your deck. All right, so he's really hard to kill, which thematic for Sting. Sting's stuck around for a long time, and you just couldn't ever really get rid of him. The other part of his ability is you can pack once as a horseman, always a horseman, and no cell maneuver. Now, the cool thing with him packing no cell is he gets to not only not play it from hand, so he gets to play it, and he doesn't have to play it from hand. So he can overturn no cell, reverse any maneuver. It does have to remove from the game after use, after you do that, but we're okay with that because we have Sting specifically has ways of getting cards back from the removed from game pile. He has no backstage cards, so we just pack the traditional signature, signing appearance, autograph session, 5th, 10th. Very, very straightforward. Uh, so now we're going to go into our pre-match like we always do. I try to keep to a formula at least, and I try to lay these out in order that I want to play them. So obviously, your allegiance, where the big boys play, we are WCW allegiance. We are Sting. Why would we be allegiance to anyone else? He, for the longest time, really was the WCW vanguard. Um, so this allegiance is really cool, and the fact that when you put a WCW card into your ring, your opponent has to discard a card. So it's kind of like Premier Raw, only better because it just has to enter your ring. You don't have to successfully play it. Uh, Then, once a turn, when you're a WCW superstar, which Sting is, you can take the bottom card of your arsenal and put it underneath this card. That's not an ace, you can just do that whenever. And then, as an ace, once a turn, as long as it's not the first turn, and you have less fortitude. Specifically, your first turn. As long as it's not your first turn and you have less fortitude, you can remove these two cards from underneath this card from the game. Look at your opponent's hand. Choose 2 reversals. I think it specifically says reversals. Yeah, you choose 2 reversals, and they can't play reversals in response. They can't play those 2 reversals in response to the next maneuver you play for this turn. I apologize that I stuttered over my words like that, but this one is kind of complicated to a certain extent. So I'll just reiterate more with some more elegance. You put a card from your arsenal at the bottom underneath this card. As an ace, as long as it's not your first turn and you have less fortitude, you can remove 2 cards from underneath this from the game. Look at your opponent's hand, choose 2 reversals. They can't play them in response to your next maneuver this turn. Pretty great. Great way to try to get on the board. We're not packing a venue, but we are packing a feud. There is no escape. This card has been getting a lot of controversy in a lot of the ranting groups, and I can get it. This card is really, really rough to deal with. Especially when you're playing decks that don't have to play the uh, what's the word I'm thinking? Questionable maneuvers that are on the card, arguably bad maneuvers that are on the card. So all players' maneuvers can't be reversed by non-superstar specific hybrid reversals. Your maneuvers cannot be reversed from your opponent's backlash deck. All your maneuvers get +2 stun. But you cannot play non-unique maneuvers that are not listed on this card. It's a fair trade-off, except in virtual there is a ton of unique maneuvers that we can throw. And not even just in virtual. In Classic had it as well. So we are just playing strictly unique maneuvers. And we're getting the benefits of you can't reverse our maneuvers with non-superstar specific hybrids, and you can't reverse our maneuvers from backlash, and all of our maneuvers get +2 stun. On top of There Is No Escape, we're also Hell in a Cell. We're a Hell in a Cell deck. So run-ins can't be played, and no card or card effects can move any number of cards from any ringside pile, unless you are a superstar that is on this card. Now, very important, your superstar ability is not a card or card effect. Your superstar ability gets around Hell in a Cell. So, we can always, as long as we're successfully playing a unique maneuver, we can shuffle in 5 cards. And the unique theme that Sting wants to go with also falls in line with There Is No Escape. We want to be playing unique maneuvers, so we're really okay with There Is No Escape being we're just playing unique maneuvers. We don't have a manager. So when we go into our first event, we're playing the WWE World Heavyweight title belts. So this gives us +4 superstar value. Other card effects cannot alter our superstar value. And then before your draw segment of the first turn of the game, you put up 2 number cards from your hand to the bottom of your arsenal and draw the same number where number is your superstar value. So you're going to get to put up to 9 cards from your hand to the bottom of your arsenal and then draw up to that many cards. This is great because we want to really be digging into our deck. We're looking for very specific cards in our hand optimally for our first turn. Then we're going to play the champ is here. We want that extra +2 pre-match and the extra +2 mid-match. Very, very good to have. And we're a 5 superstar value, so we should get this more often than we shouldn't. But it can just be a coin toss. We're going into Welcome to Monday Nitro. So when you're a WCW superstar, this card doesn't take up a slot. And when you activate Where the Big Boys Play, you get to put the cards on the bottom of your arsenal instead. So remember how Where the Big Boys Ace was you had to remove the 2 cards from the game? Well, now you get to put them on the bottom of your arsenal. That's awesome. On top of that, this card acts as a mini Houston, Texas. You can't play it if you have Houston, Texas in your ring. You can, you just don't get the effect. My apologies. You and your opponent both draw 4 cards, and your opponent randomly discards until he discards a hybrid card. Then you discard the number of cards that he discarded. When flanked by arena security is not in any player's ring, all players' starting hand sizes are -2, and all players draw 3 less cards for their best laid plans. So we're getting around the best laid plans, hopefully, and in some avenue. We're giving everybody -2 hand size, including ourselves. That does hurt, but we are letting them draw some cards and kind of making them discard. We're hoping they keep a few so we can keep a few in our hand, because remember, Where the Big Boys Play makes them discard for when we play WCW cards. And I mean, we have superstar specific cards that are WCW. So, and Welcome to Monday Nitro is a WCW card as well. Then I go into the Man Called Sting. This is really only here because it makes your superstar specific cards not take up slots in your ring for your pre-match, which is 3 cards. This one, his other superstar specific one, and once is a horseman, always a horseman. We don't get the When We're the Stinger, and the ace is fairly irrelevant most of the time unless they've gotten out of the cell. If they've either blanked the cell, removed it some way, or they've used making their escape to get out of the cell for the turn. Because I believe it stays off. Nope, my apologies. Making your escape only works on your opponent, I believe. I could be wrong. But if you're ever not in the cell or affected by the cell, you can remove a card from your ringside pile from the game to draw a card. You'll probably never do that. I went into that whole long spiel for no reason. I apologize. It's Showtime. Throwback. So the other reason that I really, really wanted to play Sting was I hate getting Showtimed. And my play group was playing decks that either went first or Showtimed. And I'm like, I want to go first and not be Showtimed. So your starting hand size is +3. Your opponent's is -2. So you're giving your opponent -4 total hand size. And you're getting +1. Because you're -2 for your own Nitro, +3 for your It's Showtime. Your opponent's It's Showtime is blank. So they can't Showtime you, which is great. Now the crux of the deck. When your opponent has a maneuver in his ring, your Sting Superstar specific maneuvers are -10 Fortitude. When he does not, your ability is blank. So, we want to let them land their first maneuver. Doesn't matter what it is. We just want them to get our maneuver in their ring. Because this will turn on specific cards in our deck, and we'll be able to start shuffling cards into our back into our arsenal because our ability will no longer be blank. Then we go into Once is a Horseman, Always a Horseman. So it's Superstar specific, so it's not going to take up a slot. At the end of the pre-match, draw 4 cards, and when you're not the Brainbusters, put 4 cards from your hand on the bottom of your arsenal. We don't get any other effect of it. It's just there because we run the other Horseman cards, and we need to run this to run those. Then we're playing SummerSlam, so we get to, can only be played if you have a feud and a stip in your ring, which we do. We have No Escape and Hell in a Cell. You must immediately play a stipulation card, and then you choose a stipulation in your opponent's ring and blank it. So we're playing Chicago Street Fight. We're a foreign object deck too. So Chicago Street Fight is you overturn 3. This card is not affected by Hell in a Cell, so synergy there. As an ace, you can discard a card from your hand to pick up a foreign object out of your ring area. When the card titled Dem Dan Dudleys is in your ring, it never will be because we're in Hell in a Cell and you can't play run-ins in Hell in a Cell. We don't even pack it in the deck for the off chance that we're not going to be in the cell. We just assume we're going to be in the cell, and if we're not, then oh well. Then our last pre-match is Frankie Takes Hollywood. We want to make our reversals RMS'd, just because we don't want our opponent messing with our reversals, either fortitude costs, damage, or for any other reason. This will also allow us to play hybrid reversals with There Is No Escape, I believe. No, I apologize. That does not work. I'm getting ahead of myself, and I'm trying to think of things, new things that I shouldn't even, that I've been theorizing and saying them. I apologize, guys. I'm rambling. But Frankie Takes Hollywood is really good. Just giving your RMS, your reversals RMS, so they can't be blanked either. And we want, specifically, we want a specific card in our ring, and we can't let it get blanked. So it's RMS'd everywhere. It also has a ace that reverses an ace from a non-unique card. Could be relevant. Then we're going into the mid-match. Say it with me, guys. Reach sees your grasp, restricted use in this area. Play these in every deck. In Virtual, if you don't play them, you're going to lose more often than you're going to win. Now that we've gotten that out of the way. Going on to the Horsemen have something to say about that. So this is our first demonstration that we're a cheater deck. This is great. The fortitude cost doesn't matter. Because we're putting it into our ring, we're not playing it. When Once is a Horseman, Always a Horseman is in your ring, during your opponent's turn, when he successfully plays a D4 plus card, We're not the Four Horsemen, so it has to be a D4 plus card. You could put this card from your backlash into your ring and end their turn. When this card's in your ring, before each of his draw segments, he overturns 2 cards. This has been... Yeah. I apologize. This used to be worded a different way, that it could be reversed by your opponent. Now it's worded that it cannot. And then during his turn, he can overturn 4 cards and then put this card into your ringside pile. So once it hits our ringside pile, we're never getting it back because of Hell in a Cell. But this is specifically here for their first maneuver. So they're going to play their first maneuver. We're going to put the Horsemen have something to say about that. We're going to take the damage and end their turn. Because we want them to land that first maneuver, and then we want to go into our turn. We're running, this is going to be old school Brawl. There's a ton of decks out there that run a lot of maneuvers with reversal restrictions. So, and oddly enough, plays a reversal restriction. Okay, yeah. So, you can only play it when your opponent plays a maneuver with a reversal restriction from his card that is not the first maneuver with a reversal restriction that he plays. So, when he plays the second one, you can play this. You blank the maneuver's text and damage. Your opponent discards 2 random cards and ends his turn. Gets you 2 fortitude, so it does 2 damage. And whenever he plays a non-superstar specific maneuver with a reversal restriction from his card that is not the first, so it goes back to that same triggering, he has to overturn 2 cards. So we're just trying to make sure that we're at least giving them some kind of punishment for playing all of those reversal restriction cards. That card's more wordy, and I probably could do a better job explaining it, but turning everything upside down, I talk about this in every deck. I think this is a better Cow on Ice. It has a great action cost, especially because we're going to be playing from behind for a little bit of the game, because we're letting them get guaranteed fortitude, basically. But if we can hit certain cards into our ring, it's actually great. Sting's Howl. This is WCW, so we're going to make them discard a card when we get to play it. It cannot be reversed when played after successfully played maneuver. And you reveal the top 4 cards of your arsenal. You could choose any face, fan favorite, or WCW cards and put them in your hand. The rest go on the bottom of your arsenal. If you didn't choose any, you draw 2. When the next card played was one of the revealed cards, you ignore that can only be played text. And then as an ace, you can put it into your ring. During your turn, when this card's in your ring, so ringside or removed from game, you can discard 2 cards and then put it back in your backlash deck and end your turn. We will only ever get to do this if it somehow gets removed from the game, or if it's in our ring. So, unlikely that we will get to do this multiple times, and we have to end our turn. It's a little rough. I apologize if it looks like I'm reading the cards more closely this time. These cards are a little more wordy than some of my other decks. So the Vigilante has come to WWE. It's 8 Fortitude RMS. As an action, your opponent can't prevent you from playing it, and he can't respond to it. Cannot respond to this card is the most powerful effect in this game, in my opinion. It's absurd, because your opponent literally cannot do anything to this card. As a reversal, it's Fortitude 0. You completely reverse any run-in, which we don't care because we're Hell in a Cell unless they play a run-in and they're a superstar that's on Hell in a Cell. Or any card with GM or Chairman in the text. We shuffle up the 1 card that's removed from game into our arsenal. Great. We're going with that, our no cells are removed from game when we overturn them. And then as an ace, when this card or no cell would be removed from the game by another effect, put up to 2 of the cards removed from game on the bottom of your arsenal and remove this card from the game. So if you overturn no cell, it reverses and removes from game. That's an effect. You can ace Vigilantes come to WWE, put 2 cards removed from the game on the bottom of your arsenal, remove this card from the game, and then you still get to end your opponent's turn. Unscrupulous SOB. We are very rarely going to get the -10 Fortitude on this because we generally get a pretty high superstar value. But reverse any non-unique action or an activated card effect and end your opponent's turn. Just nice to have another ace reversal. Road to Victory. As an action, draw a card. As a reversal, reverse in mid-match. Something that I probably haven't mentioned before in this because I gloss over it because it never happens, is if you actually successfully play this card and your opponent has 15 more cards in his hand, he discards until he has 5. If your opponent ever walks into this card and has 15 cards in their hand, 1, they feel real dumb, and 2, you feel real good. Dirty Low Blow. Dirty Low Blow is a great card in this deck because it's basically not reversible. So you're going to get on the board, you're going to get some Fortitude. And it has 3 stun because of there's no escape. So, it's just great. And we'll get to shuffle 5 off of this because it's a unique maneuver. Desperate Struggle. We play this when we have lower Fortitude with another printed 0 3 damage maneuver from our hand. This card gains that type. Your opponent can't play Oversell. And it basically works just like the panic maneuvers. They have to reverse this maneuver and the other maneuver that you're playing with it. I don't play this very often, but I like having it as a backup. Then finally, Suicide Strike. I'm going to see if there's an alternate art for Suicide Strike. There is not. So, I talked about this in the game video. If this card is reversed from your opponent's hand or backlash deck, you overturn 5 cards. We don't really care. When successfully played, remove the top 10 cards of your arsenal from the game. We did talk about that we have ways of getting cards back from removed from game. So we're kind of okay with that. And getting to 30 Fortitude is just, every deck wants to be at 30 Fortitude. Would love to be at 30 Fortitude if they could. So that's why I run this. It's a great jump to 30. So that's my backlash deck. I don't think I want to change much of it other than maybe Desperate Struggle into something else, but I kind of like Desperate Struggle. It's a unique maneuver, so. Going into the reversals, I apologize, guys, that this kind of gets a little boring, that the reversals are generally the same, but we are running some different ones. So, get the F out manager. I'm not going to talk much about them. Very standard virtual heal. Great having managers because we have a shuffle ability, so we can just kind of overturn the managers to reverse and then shuffle them back in. No Sell. So No Sell is when you play it from hand, reverse any maneuver in your opponent and your opponent's turn, you have to discard 2 cards. We can overturn these as reversals and remove them from the game. And yeah, it's great that we get to play them. No Chance in Hell Throwback. This card is -6 Fortitude for every card titled Don't Cross the Boss in your ring area or ringside. Reverses any action and end your opponent's turn. Put any number of cards titled Don't Cross the Boss from your ringside pile in your hand. So, if you have a Don't Cross the Boss in your ring or ringside, it's 6 Fortitude, reverse any action. It's just great. I guess I'll talk about Don't Cross the Boss, even though it's in the actions. Don't Cross the Boss also has a text when it's in your ringside pile, your No Chance in Hell is an additional -6 Fortitude. So your No Chance in Hells will be 0 Fortitude. And they can never get picked back up. Because No Chance in Hell can't pick it back up because of Hell in a Cell. So, nice little combo there. We're running 2 Oversells. This is, again, for that first, your opponent's first maneuver. We want to make sure that we're letting it be successful, but also taking the turn back. This also lets us draw 2 cards and then draw 1 for our turn. Blanks the maneuver's text as well, which is really relevant. Raw and Ready. This is another thing that's we're okay with them getting the first maneuver successful. This lets us search our deck for any card and put it in our hand. Then we overturn cards equal to the maneuver's damage, and your opponent continues his turn. So this is more of a, this is like the last resort, or if we really, really need to search for a card. And there's going to be a specific card that we're going to search for with this card that I'll get into later. But so that's why it's at 2 of and not at 3 of. This is probably the last resort. 2 Don't Tries. This could easily be a 3rd of, but I'm only running 2, so. Going into the virtual staple package, as I have mentioned before, Douchebag, Divine, Raw Deal Revolution, Carlito, Breaking Ground. We're not going to talk about those. So, Great Deal of Confusion requires the WCW allegiance. When played, you can ignore it can only be reversed or cannot be reversed effect from a card. Reverse any non-superstar specific card that cannot be reversed, or with a can only be reversed effect. Drop 1 card and put 1 card from under Halloween Havoc and up to one of your cards removed from the game under where the big boys play. So we're getting to put some of our removed from game cards back underneath our allegiance, so we can get them back into our deck. Or there's a little more we can do with those cards. Going down into your Ajive Soul Bro. So it's a cheater, 10 Fortitude Heal Reversal. Reverses a non-superstar specific non-maneuver. We don't get to remove any cards from their ringside because of Hell in a Cell, but we get to draw one card. The Horsemen have my back. Again, it's another cheater card. I'm specifically saying that these are cheater cards. One, specifying that we are cheater again, and two, because we're running Blindside Takedown. So these are all going to be at lower Fortitude costs. So reverses any non-unique, non-hybrid maneuver. Or, when once a horseman, always a horseman is in our ring, it's -4 Fortitude, and reverses any non-hybrid maneuver instead. Put up to 4 cards from ringside on the bottom of our arsenal, we won't get to do that. But with Blindside Takedown, this card is at 9 Fortitude, reverse any non-hybrid maneuver, and it does 4 damage. Just a great reversal. Out of nowhere, this card is... I go back and forth with this card, and I actually kind of want to take it out of the deck. I've been taking this out of a lot more decks. It's not as good as me and my friends originally thought it was, because we thought you didn't need the Fortitude to play it, but you do. As an action, you Arsenal ringside and remove from game search a trademark. When it's your next card played this turn, is a trademark, it's Fortitude 0, and you ignore the can only be played text. But it costs 25 Fortitude. If you have 25 Fortitude, you most likely can pay most Superstars trademarks anyway. And when you have lower Fortitude, it reads, can only be reversed from Arsenal. That's a relevant line of text, though. But as a reversal, it's Fortitude 0. When overturned and you would have 15 less cards in your ring, in your arsenal, completely reverse any card or card effect and put this card in your ring, and you could play it as your first card in your on your next turn, and your opponent cannot respond to it. So that's great. It's 0 Fortitude as a reversal, but then you can't play it as an action because you don't have the Fortitude if you don't have 25. That's where we're kind of like on the fence with it, but it's still reasonable enough. And we run 3 trademark finishers, so I guess it's fine. 1 Hold the Phone, just to reverse hybrid cards. We're okay with that. We have non-hybrid cards kind of cleared up with Horseman on my back, so we wanted a hybrid card short up. We're running Counter Throw, Counter Hold, and Counter Assault. Since we're running oversells and no sells, I decided to run the counter package because they're just great reversals. Then we're going into Sting's Muscle Pose Down. So this is very similar to Oversell, or more in line with like Hulkin' Up, if anybody's familiar with Hulk Hogan's cards. This is actually just better than those cards in my opinion. It's 9 Fortitude, permanent. It can only be played after successfully played maneuver. You blank the maneuver's text and damage, and shuffle 5 cards removed from the game back into your arsenal. When this card's in your ring, you no longer discard for no sell. This card's absurd. And it's WCW, so you're going to make them discard a card. Like, this card is bonkers. Then we're going to Is That Nothing's For Sure. It sounds weird when I say it because there's another card that it's titled The Only Thing That's Sure About Sting. So it kind of finishes the sentence. But as an action, you reveal any number of cards from your hand, shuffle them into your arsenal, and then draw the same number of cards. Not great as an action, but as a reversal, reverse any non-maneuver card. The kicker to this card is when it's in your ring. You can play cards from underneath WCW cards as if from hand. So if we're now ahead on Fortitude, where the big boys play becomes a second hand, which is great. Especially because like we have a great deal of confusion that's putting cards underneath there from our remove from game pile. We can always put a card underneath it with its ability from our arsenal. Like it's just, and it becomes a second hand. This is specifically the reversal that I wanted to give RMS to make sure that it could not be blanked. Specifically. But those are the reversals. We are running quite a number of reversals, and we get a lot of mileage out of them because we get to keep shuffling them into our deck. I already talked about Don't Cross the Boss. We're going to go into one of the key parts of a combo in the deck. That's just a great card that I think this card should be seeing more play. It's Ref Takes a Bump. So when it's in your hand and your opponent reverses plays a non-unique printed D0 reversal to reverse your maneuver, you can put this card into your ring, and you keep the reverse maneuver in your ring as well, which is great. You just get to keep the fortitude. Very important. It's permanent. It's unique. It's just a great card. We're running Stop Sign. It's an action for an object multi. It's 15 fortitude, does 5 damage. This plus table, chair, and ladder are foreign objects that have have ace effects that put themselves into their ringside, so that we can constantly be having an engine for our Chicago street fight. So this one is when you play a grapple, throw, trademark, or trademark finisher without maintain in the text, you can choose this card until that card finishes resolving. An ace, when you choose it, you put it in your ringside, and your successfully played maneuver is +4 damage and +1 stun. When it's in your hand, you may put it into your ring to completely reverse a non-unique high risk, and your opponent overturns 4 cards. It's just a cool card. Just the action multis aren't super easy to reverse, and it does 5 damage. Then the only thing that's for sure about Sting, it's a 0 fortitude action multi. You search your arsenal for is that nothing is sure. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and then as an ace, once during each of your turns, you get to discard a card, and then look at the top 3 cards of your arsenal, put one of those cards under a WCW card, with cards under it, and up to 1 card in your hand, and then remove the other remaining cards from the game. So you get to discard a card, look at the top 3, put one under your allegiance, put one in your hand, and remove one from the game. That's all the actions we're running. So now we're going into the maneuvers of the deck. I kind of had these laid out a little bit differently this time, of order of fortitude costs. But I'm going to go right into some of the... No, I'm going to stick with the way I was going to originally do it. So you'll notice that every maneuver we're playing is unique. I mentioned this with There's No Escape. We can only play unique maneuvers, and we want to because we're Sting. So classic Fireman's Carry, it's a 0 for 3 grapple. You get to look at your opponent's hand if it's successful. Grapple multi. We can increase this with some other cards that we have to make it do more damage, but just a slightly difficult reversal or maneuver to reverse unless your opponent wants to waste, like a get the F out or a once is enough. Whirlwind Kick. This is one of those virtual / revolution cards because it's a strike assault, so it's really just a strike. You can search for it as if it were non-unique. Put 2 cards from your ringside on the bottom of your arsenal. We can't do that. It's just 0 for 5 strike. Unique. Counter Strike. As a maneuver, when played as a counter, it can't be reversed by non-unique 2+ cards. And as a reversal, it can only be played when it has equal or lower fortitude. When your opponent successfully plays a maneuver with a reversal restriction, after damage is resolved in its turn. So you play it after they successfully play a reversal restriction maneuver, and then you end their turn. Backhand Slap. We're running this because we're not running Sidewalk Slam. As a maneuver, you get to drop 2 cards, and your opponent puts a card from his hand at the bottom of his arsenal. As a reversal, reverses any card that cannot be reversed. We're not the Godfather. So 0 for 2, Backhand Slap, Throwback. Back Throw. This is another great card since we're playing from behind. It's -5 fortitude and +5 damage as a maneuver. And when we have at least 5 lower fortitude, it can only be reversed from Backlash deck or arsenal. And as a reversal, reverses any throwback card. When you successfully play it, he overturns cards equal to the number of non-pre-match throwback cards in his ring and discards a card. Now, this card's just great. There's not a lot to why am I running these ones? It's just they're unique maneuvers that do other things as well, or they're harder to reverse. Chain Lashing Throwback. So we have a couple of cards that are either very hard to reverse, and they're generally lower fortitude. Their actions, like Sting's Howl and stuff like that. Because this can only be played after successfully played card, but when it's successfully played, your opponent randomly discards 2 cards from his Backlash deck. 3 fortitude, 7 damage, and will have 4 stun. All of these maneuvers have +2 stun. That's a lot of stun. I probably should pack a backslide and inside cradle in this deck, but I don't. Overhand chair shot. 5 for 5. Strike multi. It's for an object, so we can pick it up with Chicago Street Fight. Same with the chain lashing. Um, it can't be reversed by back rake. Couldn't be reversed by back rake anyway, because back rake is a hybrid reversal. When it's in your ring, and you can put it into your ringside pile to reverse any foreign object, or any card played after the card title roll out of the ring. So you can ace it to reverse foreign object, and then Chicago Street Fight pick it back up. Blatant Chokehold. So it's a cheater. So it'll be 4 Fortitude with Blindside Takedown. You get to search for your arsenal or ringside pile for a trademark, so you're going to get to search for your arsenal for a trademark, put it in your hand, and then while this card's in your ring, your trademarks are Fortitude 20, and ignore that can only be played text. It's a great card. Maneuver of Doom is basically blank. It's an 8 for 12 strike, grapple, high risk, submission, chain, heat, volley 10. It's just there because it's a slightly hard to reverse multi that has 4 stun and has a great bridge of 8 to 20. Gut Punch Body Slam. It is a unique multi that's strike grapple. This card has an awesome effect of when it's played, it's successfully played, and if you have greater fortitude rating than your opponent, you can discard 3 cards and then put that many non-maneuver cards from his ring into his ringside. So you can just bail cards out of his ringside, or out of his ring to get them out, either so that you don't have to deal with them anymore. You can strip some fortitude away. This card's great, and it has 4, or it actually is, I'm sorry, it has 2 stun because it has RMS. Chaos and Pandemonium at ringside. Maneuver type special. It is just a maneuver. So it can only be reversed by cards that say reverse any maneuver. When you're a WCW card, or when you're a WCW superstar, it's also multi. So it's a maneuver special. When played, you get to choose up to 5 cards from your hand and shuffle it into your arsenal. Draw the same number of cards plus 1. Your opponent does the same. He shuffles the number that you picked random cards and draws the same number. And this card gets plus 1 damage for each card that you did. And when it's successfully played, you can't remove any cards from his ringside pile from the game. So it can really screw your opponent's hand up. It's hard to reverse. It can do some serious damage, and it has 4 stun. Atomic Spinebuster. When it's successfully played, we're always going to choose to overturn 5 cards, because we're going to overturn 5 cards and then shuffle 5 cards. Just a chain grapple that's not super easy to reverse, because it's just a plain grapple, and chain makes it annoying. Then we're going into table, chair, and ladder. I'm going to go over all 3 of these at the same time, because they're all functioning the same as stop sign. They all have different effects based of, like, table can't be reversed by elbow to the face, a revolution of the mind, or sidewalk slam, which is great. I've actually used that to get around a hand stacked of reversals. Where the big boys played, picked 2 reversals, played this that couldn't be reversed by the last reversals in his hand. And then they all have that ace of when you play a maneuver, you can ace them to add effects to that maneuver. And we want to be doing that because we want to be keeping them in our ringside so that we can constantly be playing unique maneuvers. Discarding to Chicago Street Fight, picking them up, playing them again. I originally got this idea from Hog Trail. Evan has been great. And I saw his Superstar guide that mentioned There's No Escape, Hell in a Cell, Chicago Street Fight. And I wanted to build off of that from there. And these were some cards that I think he even mentioned in that. And then I just extrapolated from there. And I thought these were great adds. So table adds 8 damage and a stun. Chair adds 4 damage and a stun. And ladder adds 6 damage and 3 stun. Man. So if we play a grapple, say we play like Atomic Spinebuster, and we use ladder, with our no escape, this card now has 7 stun. Yeesh. And it's 21 damage. Yeah. Absurd. Blindside Takedown. I went over this in the game deck. It's specifically here because when we search our deck, we can put it on ringside pile, and our non-chain cheater cards are -3 fortitude. We will also throw this as a maneuver because it's a grapple maneuver that is unique. So, just a great card to run. Spiral Bomb. So this is another one like Whirlwind Kick, where it's just a grapple, but your opponent discards 3 cards if you successfully play it. Like, it's just a big grapple that's where, when we get into this territory, we're looking to put the game away. So we want these maneuvers to be hitting hard. Then we're running the finisher. So trademark, multi. Easier to reverse than a straight up trademark, but not super easy, especially with the amount of multis that we're playing. When it's in your ring, cards removed from the game cannot be moved to another location. We're hoping that we've already used Muscle Pose Down and Vigilante by the time we land this card. So that we've used all of our effects that deal with the remove from game card pile, and then our opponent can't touch them. We'll have 5 stun, and it's just a big trademark finisher. Would be 20 Fortitude if we have Blatant Chokehold. Now into Sting's maneuvers. So the thing that makes the deck go is we let them hit their first maneuver, and then we want to be digging for the black baseball bat. So strike for an object, 10 for 8. Can only be reversed from hand or arsenal. When your opponent is the Immortal One or has an NWO card in his ring or backstage, he cannot play reversals to this card. Very thematic. I love it. And this card cannot be sidewalk slammed because of no escape. If your opponent get the F outs, this is where we want ref takes a bump. So he goes, get the F out, we put ref takes a bump into our ring, and we keep the black baseball bat. We now have 8 Fortitude, and we're good to go. We're good to play most of the cards. Most of the cards to start building our Fortitude, especially because all of our Sting maneuvers are minus 10 Fortitude now. Once they have a maneuver in that ring. Sting's Press Slam. 20 for 15. Grapple. You get to put 2 cards removed from the game that are not non-hybrid reversals. I still think that's really weird. So you get to put 2 cards that are hybrid reversals. Hang on. Put up the 2 cards removed from the game that are not non-hybrid. So that means they would have to be hybrid. If I'm understanding that correctly. Somebody please correct me on this. The wording on this card confuses me. But whatever you get to put them on the bottom of your arsenal, and then your opponent discards 2 cards. Just a solid maneuver. Then he's got 3 hybrid maneuvers that are all really good. Stinger Splash is an 18 for 8 as a maneuver. Can only be played when you are playing it as a counter, or when played after throw in the corner turnbuckle. If you play it after throw in the corner turnbuckle, he can't play reversals to this card. We're not playing throw in the corner turnbuckle, so we're mostly going to use this as a strike or high risk reversal. Just great. I'm sorry. It also can be played after successfully played card, which, if we bat into this, because this is now minus 10 Fortitude, that's a great little combo. The Scorpion Death Drop. Reverses any grapple or trademark, and when successfully played, search your arsenal for a unique maneuver, put it in your hand. 30 for 20, so as a maneuver, it's a 20 for 20. Just great. 5 stun, and yeah. And then the Scorpion Deathlock. We get to search for Maintain Hold. We're not playing Maintain Hold, so we probably could run 1 Maintain Hold throwback just as a win the game condition. That might be what I actually take out of nowhere for. Just kind of future thinking. But as a reversal, it's minus 10 Fortitude and reverses any submission or trademark finisher with Maintain in the text. So it is 30 Fortitude as a submission reversal. He just has great cards. I love this deck. This deck is incredibly hard to kill. And it's done wonders for me. And I really feel like Sting when I'm playing it, because he was just such, as I said in the beginning, he was just such a nuisance to a lot of the heels in WCW, and it just never seemed like you could get rid of them. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I know this one has been a little more rough. This deck is a little more complicated for me to talk about. I probably should have thought more about this one, But I do appreciate you guys very much for listening and watching these videos, giving me any kind of criticism and feedback. And I want to end the video with something that a couple of us were talking about. And I noticed like some dislikes on some of the other videos, and I can kind of understand. I know there's a lot of people out there that struggle with getting into virtual. Um, very, classic is a pure way to play radio, and I'm never gonna fault you for thinking that way, but I would urge you to give virtual a real shake. Virtual has been going on for longer than classic was in print, and the dev teams, the designers, and the playtesters have done a fantastic job with this game. I know a lot of people say the game, the board state is just too much. There's too many words on the cards. The backstage area is way out of hand. Well, I mean, to be fair, Classic Raw Deal had a ton of words on their cards as well. Um, and the reason there's so many words in Virtual is they're trying to make sure that they future-proof these cards and make sure that they're fairly easy to understand. Yeah, you do have to do a little more reading, but I cannot stress enough, I could never go back to Classic Raw Deal after playing Virtual, and I don't think Classic Raw Deal would have brought me back in the way that Virtual did. So, if anybody cares about anything that I am saying or any kind of what my opinion is, give Virtual Raw Deal a real fair shot. There's a Discord going on for it. Tournaments running pretty consistently online. There's one going on right now. I'm currently 2-1 at the time of this recording. I lost with this Sting deck to my local buddy who we got paired first round against his John Cena deck, and then I won the next two games with my game deck that I previewed in my previous video. So it's just always stuff going on. I really urge you guys to give it a shot. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you guys hate these videos, tell me. Tell me what I can do to do better. I want to keep doing these, and I want to keep making them better for you guys. Let me know what you would like to see in the comments below. Reach out to me in any way. Thank you guys, and have a great rest of your night.